You found something in their room today, or caught a text you weren't supposed to see. Now it's 2 a.m., the house is quiet, and you are wide awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling a cold, instinctual knot in your stomach. Everything outside your house suggests you should just go back to sleep. Our modern culture often treats teenage cannabis use as a casual punchline, a harmless rite of passage parents are expected to simply ignore. That relaxed attitude is anchored in a memory of the 1970s and 80s, an era when cannabis was chemically a vastly different, weaker substance than what is available today. The evidence in your own home tells a more urgent story. You are seeing slipping grades, a room that stays locked, a shift to unfamiliar friends, and that distinct, heavy smell lingering in the hallway. Your gut instinct is right. This disconnect between what society says and what your child is experiencing has created a high-stakes biological conflict that is too often ignored. Relying on the myth of just weed actively endangers vulnerable teenagers by delaying the specific clinical support they need to address these changes. The human brain doesn't finish its construction phase at high school graduation. It actively builds core architecture and forms neural pathways into a person's mid-20s. This chart illustrates the primary threat. The average potency of THC in modern products has skyrocketed compared to previous decades. Introducing these highly concentrated chemicals during this window interferes with the brain's assembly process, effectively scrambling the networks still trying to form. The cognitive impact is measurable. Research shows that regular use during these years leads to a loss of memory retention, an inability to sustain attention on complex tasks, and a noticeable drop in baseline motivation. The long-term psychological risks carry an even steeper cost, with higher instances of anxiety, deep depression, and, for youth with specific vulnerabilities, drug-induced psychosis. Regular exposure to modern THC levels during these years targets the brain's most critical building phase, threatening the foundations of long-term cognitive health. Eventually, the internal changes to the brain's chemistry begin to drive a teenager's external daily behavior. This progression often leads to cannabis use disorder, or CUD, a formal, recognized clinical diagnosis that identifies a specific neurological pattern. The pattern starts when a teen begins using more than intended, often driven by intense physical cravings. This develops into a cycle of unsuccessful efforts to cut down. Use continues even as compounding crises emerge in school, family, and health. When they aren't using, physical withdrawal symptoms take over, manifesting as extreme irritability and severe sleep trouble. Once this self-reinforcing neurological trap is locked in, it cannot be broken by parental anger or punishment. It requires specialized clinical intervention. If you are that parent awake in the middle of the night, understand that reacting with intense anger or panic is counterproductive when dealing with a neurological disorder. Biologically, a calm, warm, and non-judgmental connection is the most effective initial response a parent can offer to de-escalate the situation. From there, we look to evidence-based treatments. Cognitive behavioral therapy and motivational enhancement therapy provide a structured clinical framework to disrupt the cycle and restore healthy behavioral patterns. However, even the best treatments are useless if a family cannot afford them, or if the teen cannot physically reach a clinic. While the risks of modern adolescent cannabis use are real, you do not have to lose sleep tonight. Accessible, evidence-based intervention is immediately available for your family.